Hello everyone, hope you're well. I'm doing a quick update in the car today because Emily's got her friend round. It's another day off in the Easter holidays for them. They're all at home chilling out, making cakes and stuff. I thought to myself, Game of Thrones season 8 starts tonight, so I won't be able to record from like 9 onwards, and I think her friend's going to be round till 7, half 7. So I was leaving myself very little time to edit, upload, and so on and so forth, and do all the other things I need to do. So here I am in the car as usual. We've had quite a quiet weekend for once. We went into town for the Pokemon Go Community Day. It was Bagon Day on Saturday. Both caught several of them. We did make a bit of a mistake in that Ollie went out to play with next door in the morning. He seemed all right. He was a bit, once he was G'd up and everything, he seemed a bit like he wasn't really in the mood to go shopping. We persevered anyway and went, and then he was fine in terms of he didn't do anything naughty, but he found it overwhelming. He found it difficult. We shouldn't really have gone out. It's one of those we're learning when we shouldn't do it, and we felt we shouldn't have, but we did it anyway because we needed to get some bits. I was thinking, oh yeah, we'll enjoy playing Pokemon, let's go, it'll all be great. But when we got out there, he very quickly got bored of doing it because he was frustrated. Whenever he doesn't get a shiny, he gets upset or disappointed and doesn't really want to do it as much. And it's like a struggle to try and keep him entertained. So I carried on. We went to the shops and everything. By the time we got back, I think we were all exhausted. We instantly, straight off the bat, especially after watching the what it's like to be autistic at a shopping centre video from the National Autistic Society, we invested in a pair of ear protectors for Ollie, which arrived Sunday morning. He put them on and he loves them. I was worried that he'd put them on and he wouldn't like wearing them and he'd be a bit kind of uncomfortable with them. But he put them on and he said, "Oh, everything's so much quieter." He was fascinated by the whole "can you hear me" talk. Yes, we can. We're not covered. Our ears aren't covered. Telling me to whisper at him, and he could just about hear that. It's like it's not blocking out the sound entirely, it's just dampening it. And he just all day then seemed so much more chilled. He'd have them on, we'd be sat around doing stuff, he was just chilled out watching them. This is going to sound odd, and I don't know whether this is what to be expected or what, but he was watching a video with them on and he was laughing away and much more focused, and he seemed to be engaging with it better. When he's watching stuff on his iPad normally, he sits and looks at it and he's just like this, and he just doesn't react or anything to what was going on. But it was like, because my guess is that because he was blanking out the rest of the noise going on around him, he wasn't having to try as hard to focus, so he was more relaxed and happier watching it. I mean, even Claire looked at me like raising her eye because he was just sat there watching away. He was talking to the vid, like, behind you and all of this, and he doesn't normally do that. And it was an interesting one because I didn't expect that to be the reaction that it kind of gave. I didn't expect that to be an outcome, and I don't know whether that's just a coincidence, whether he just watched a couple of particularly entertaining videos, but it was the same people. He watches like a couple of people play Minecraft, a couple of YouTube families talk about their like adventures that they go on and stuff like that. He just seemed much more into it. He seemed to be much more engaged, and I'm assuming it's because he didn't have all the other noise going on around him. But we're wondering whether school will let him wear them in school now and again. He can still hear what the teacher's saying. It might be a way to stop him being as distracted. I just assumed it was a way to stop him feeling overwhelmed, but if it works like that, then great. There's not only that as an update, really. I wanted to do a video more about my writing. I am stuck at the moment. It's driving me nuts. I've got a bit of writer's block. I don't know. You have an idea, or you think of something, and then it puts you off writing what you wanted to write. So I'm writing along at the moment. I mentioned before, half of my story is a murder mystery, and the other half is a different story that I won't get into yet. But I'm kind of at a point where that person needs to start finding bits and pieces of evidence that might help them figure out the case, but it won't straight away. It will help them lead to their eventual conclusion that I've kind of got in my head. And it's impossible to write knowing that, well, I feel like it's impossible to write knowing that I know that clue means that. It feels too obvious. It's like if I don't know, if a character looks at something or sees something or focuses on something for more than a second, it's telling the reader that that's important. You should remember that that's going to help you figure it out. And I get that that's how these things work. I think my problem is I don't particularly like watching murder mystery films or crime thrillers or that kind of thing, because I tend to figure it out, or if I don't figure it out, half the time it's because they put too many red herrings or whatever, and I don't want to write something that frustrates me. If I put, I don't know, they looked at this thing, or this person said this, or this happened, or they found a piece of evidence, and then that turns out to be a red herring, I feel like that's wasted someone's time, and it's a weird feeling. I'm reading a lot more to try and figure out how to get through this or get over this little block, because up until this point, I've quite enjoyed writing it, and I'm enjoying the story, and I think it's going to work out nicely. I'm hoping that people, I feel like it will be an enjoyable story, but just these bits at the moment, trying to flash a glimpse of potentially the answer, but or maybe it isn't, is so, I don't know. Like I feel like, I guess I know what I want to do. I feel like I need to lead towards it's a logical answer, but it's not quite right, and that kind of thing. But then I don't want to give away too much, or it's such a headache. And I think what done me in, it's silly. I was reading Batman comics, and all I suddenly thought was they focused on that for more than a second, so that must be the answer. And then it was, and I felt like, damn it, this is exactly the thing I'm worried about. And I was reading online, and people were moaning it was too obvious. And then I thought to myself, well, that's like a top-end major comic that people read all the time. So yes, there was a couple of people moaning about it online, but overall the arc's been very favourably received. So I'm not sat here expecting that kind of level of fame or glory out of it. You know what I mean? I imagine that most people reading my work, ideally I'd like it to be the next bloody, Harry Potter series, and I'd make billions, but not that it's that genre, but let's be honest, it's going to be a book that someone reads and goes, oh yeah, that was interesting, and they'll carry on, sort of thing. I don't think I'd be smashing it out of the park in my first proper book on my own. But I don't know, I started going down a rabbit hole of almost self-defeating questions then, because, like, again, reading the Batman books, I can't shake the thought that if he, he's best mates with the Flash and Superman, if he just got the Flash to run around Gotham and arrest all the villains, and got Superman to take on the more brutally, death-defying ones, then he could have them all locked up in Arkham with, I don't know, Cyborg focusing on the security aspect of it all in a day, and then he wouldn't have any problems in Gotham anymore, and he could focus on managing stuff on a more global scale. And I keep thinking about that sort of thing, that sort of reductionism, that okay, if they just did this would solve everything. And it starts shaking into your own stories, because you start thinking, well, if they did this would end it, if they did that would end it. And I know that's, again, you've got to have a suspension of belief in a lot of these things, haven't you? You've got to kind of ignore the fact that, I don't know, if they dropped a massive nuke on, like, a lot of the villains, you're kind of like, well, if they just dropped a nuke, they could wipe out the entire city, job done, they'd kill them all and jobs are good, and they'd be the best villain ever, and they'd have killed everyone. And that's, you got to ignore that fact. And I suppose I'm struggling with that kind of process at the moment, because I guess there's always going to be something that could have been done, but how do you ignore that? I don't know. I'm hoping the fact that I've talked this through will help me ignore that in future. But it's all very weird, and it's because I've been very busy over the week. I've probably written about 500 words in the past week. It's annoying looking at my stats. I shouldn't look at them too much, because I had February where I just hammered out so many words it was unreal, and then March was a little bit lower, but I still did quite a lot. And then April has just been completely sparse because I've been so busy with everything. But I don't know, I need to overcome this. This is a new thing for me that I need to overcome. Just putting mental blocks in myself, questioning myself too much. The doubts are mental. And I guess I just need to overcome them. But I don't know, tips would be lovely for any of you writer types out there who have advice. I'm excited because I'm pretty much, once I get over this hump, I know where I'm going to go and how to finish it. So I reckon I could probably have it finished, probably in a couple of months at most, really. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Keep following it. See what happens when it's out. I can't wait to talk to you all about it and tell you more details, and hopefully entice you all into reading it. But I imagine that in my head, I'm sort of thinking that'll be August, September time, because I'll have to pay for an editor and sort out covers and all of this sort of stuff. But it's exciting working on it. I don't know when I'm going to fit it in today, because as I mentioned before, I've got that hour gap between The Friend going home and Game of Thrones starting. I'm hoping that the rest of the week will be relatively clear so I can crack on. But I'm going to end it here because it's only a quick one. Nothing major has happened. Hello to all of my new followers, by the way. Thank you very much for subscribing over from Kev's channel. I'm still in between kind of what's going to happen on the days when I'm not talking about Oliver's progress with the autism diagnosis. As I mentioned on Friday's video, we feel a lot closer to that actually happening now, because we've been told that if we get this form from the speech and language therapy people, that they'll be able to speed it along. But the fact that they've told us is all very likely is very relieving. I feel like now we're told our family, they're all very supportive and happy that we're kind of getting some answers, so that all feels good. But when we're not talking about that, I still want to kind of talk about other things. I don't really want to hammer it all about writing all the time and be really boring and so on and so forth. Sorry, I just got distracted there. A bit of an update. Claire took Oliver to Tesco's in his ear defenders and said that he was a completely different beast. He walked around the shop just completely happy and fine. That's amazing. I'm glad that came up there and then, but that's hilarious. It just popped up across my screen and distracted me for a second. So that's delightful. That's made me well happy. We should have done that sooner. If anyone's watching and doesn't have that, try it out. I'm hoping that'll be a long-term thing. I know it could just be early success because it's a bit different, but oh, how exciting is that? Anyway, back to my point. I'm still kind of looking for stuff to talk about between the gaps because I want to be entertaining. I want to talk. I really enjoy the vlogging, and I don't want it always to be me venting my problems and trying to overcome them. I'd like to be entertaining, so any suggestions would be great. Just what sort of content you want to see, I guess, is the point. Some of you put some tips out there before, which I have some videos lined up in my list. I can't really do them when I'm in the car though, but any more ideas would be great. I love getting them and then sitting there and planning them out and working through them because that's the best part of doing this. So anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff, and I shall see you on Wednesday. Cheers.